everyone. Welcome to the 4th, wow, April 4th, Board of Selectmen meeting. So we're just commenting on the winter coming back for this for yesterday and today. As a preliminary matter, I'm going to remind everyone that the Board of Selectmen meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Healey's authorization issued March of 2023. Regarding open meeting law, individuals wishing to participate may do so utilizing the Zoom video conference technology. Please note the meeting is being recorded on Facebook, broadcast via Dover Sherburne Cable and cable television. Accordingly, please be aware not to share your screens. Take care of your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured and recorded. Please remember to mute. As a preliminary matter, I'm John Jeffries, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. Robin Hunter, would you please identify yourself and let people know you're here?
And identified.
Thank you. Dave Haviland is here.
Present identified. I like that.
Thank you very much. Michael Blanchard, Chris Costello, Mona DeSillo is here. We have members of Warrant, Cam Hudson, Anna Nagy is here from Conservation Commission. Kevin McCabe is here. So as you are identified and your item comes up, would you please let everyone know who you are and the department you are associated with? We are going to move to our first item. Actually, we're going to go and hear any citizens' comments. Chris, anybody from citizens' comments first and foremost?
Not that I can see right now, so I think we are good.
Anybody on the call? Anybody here would like to make any comments? Or if hearing none, we're going to move to the first item, which is the Conservation Commission member Anna Nagy is here. Warrant Article 22, a transfer of town-owned land to the Conservation Commission. Anna, you're on mute. How are you?
Yes. Good. How are you?
2 nights, 2 out of 3 nights, we get to be together on Zoom. Probably.
Yeah, no.
Say thank you very much. Anna made this presentation to Open Space. Amy ran the Open Space meeting on Tuesday evening. We got to hear it, so the members of Open Space have heard the summary. I'll briefly read the summary and turn it over to you. Warrant Article 22 lists properties currently held by the town, controlled by the Conservation Commission for consideration to transfer ownership to Conservation Commission for conservation purposes. Anna will provide background on the properties and the potential transfer.
That's exactly it. The one thing is actually the properties are held by the town, controlled by you all. So that's why I'm here, because this is 9 properties out of an originally noticed 11 that we would like to see transferred from, Town of Dover to Conservation Commission for conservation. But since they're the selectmen, managed by you all, we want to make sure you're all okay with it. So I'm here to talk about it, answer any questions. And as the way Concom voted at our last meeting, if you all want to make modifications to the list, include some that we got rid of, exclude some that were on the list, it's like you're more than welcome to. We're here to accept your recommendations that are hopefully similar to ours, but it doesn't have to be. So want me to go property by property, answer questions over specific things?
And I don't think it's necessary to go property by property. We have all the properties listed. We've sent all the properties out to all the residents via the warrant. And what I'd like to do is I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask, and I'll turn it over to Robin and then Dave to ask questions. So the questions that people have, I'm going to first ask you the questions that people have brought to me since the presentation, since people have seen the presentation, many people have received the book. So the first question is, what if the town needs it back, the land back? Do the selectmen have any recourse to be able to get the land back? That's question number 1. Question number 2 for me is an abutter. If an abutter had an opportunity for a like-kind exchange, and the town, we, the selectmen, felt it was in the best interest to be able to exchange land for land on a butter. Is that a potential as well? So those are my first two questions.
So the abutter one is a little beyond my legal pay grade here. I'm not an attorney, but I can get back on that one.
Okay.
It's my instinct is it's similar to the first question of how does the town get it back? So technically it is possible to get it back. It does happen, and has occurred in other towns. The process is through the process known as the Article 97 process, which Article 97 is a amendment to the Commonwealth Constitution that lays out a process through the state legislature for protecting conservation land and taking it back out of conservation if needed. It is not the easiest process in the world. That's by design for the state. So it requires a supermajority at the state legislature, and town council has advised us that we want to be sure what we're putting in conservation, we're sure about, but it's not irretrievable. So we would have to work with our representatives to come up with a process that the legislature would accept and then vote and do that. The legislature would have to vote and do that. It's happened. I believe I last heard everything that's gone to them has been approved, but by design, it's supposed to be, very, very well thought out. So it could be retrieved. I wouldn't bank on it going quickly. So that has both positives and negatives.
Thank you. The last question for me is, where is the number two, and I'm sorry, number three, Fisher Brook Wetlands, Contiguous Conservation, Bridge Street Boat Launch? Where is that? I thought I knew every inch of Dover.
So if you're coming along Bridge Street and you're
Where
looking
is
at the
that?
boat launch, the boat launch right
Yeah.
along the river going to Sherburne, if you just sort of keep looking past, it's sort of back there. It's a
Okay.
wetlands. Amy, you probably know this. I would bet it is underwater right now.
Yeah,
So
Probably part of Amy's backyard.
yeah.
It's far away
Amy,
from
it-
me.
it's the adjacent lot to the boat landing that was given, the 3-acre boat landing was given to the to the Conservation Commission by my grandparents. So that's why I know that one pretty well. And the land next to it was so wet that it went through foreclosure a couple times, and then ultimately the town bought it, not out of foreclosure, but from somebody for, I want to say $20,000 at one point. It's essentially the floodplain / delta of Fisher Brook as it gets almost to the Charles River, and it's adjacent to a lot of the Army Corps easement as well. The boat landing, I think, is part of the Army Corps easement. Most of my grandmother's land along the Charles, which is now Peter's Reservation, was part of the Army Corps easement lots. So I haven't double checked whether this is actually part of the Army Corps easement. I guess I should have. But it is almost totally wet. And it's never, it just seemed like if we were gonna manage the boat landing, that we ought to manage the land next to it.
Got it. Thank
Keep
you.
it from getting trash and keep it from getting invasives on it. And there's a little bit of upland that sort of connects to some of the boat landing land, so it's possibility that there might be a way to string a drier trail a little bit farther away from the river as well, to keep our toes dry without too many bog bridges.
Wow. Thank you very much. Robin, any questions?
so I have listened to this presentation a number of times, but Anna,
Mhm.
I believe much of this land has really been around for many years, right? Like on the town's books. So this is somewhat almost of a house cleaning exercise. Right, it's because I know it's come up, and I think at one point, Amy, we had a conversation about, shouldn't we just move this over to Concom? With respect to selling land or giving land in kind, John, I believe that from our Springdale experience, the town as a public entity, anything we do has to go to public auction. I don't think we have a lot of flexibility when it comes to land sales, but I could be wrong. But those are my comments. To me, this makes a lot of sense. But I do somewhat view it as a housekeeping warrant.
That's
And
honestly how I'm approaching it.
So much of this is wetlands.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're trying to approach it as a housekeeping problem. It's actually first conceived of 20 years ago and has sort of been
That long,
shifted.
okay. I've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
around too long. I knew it had come up a few times, but
You may have seen it in its previous iterations in, I think, 2009, 2012, 2017. I've been going through memos, but Justine of Open Space now first kicked it off 20 years ago. And at this point, it's like it's been hanging around. So we wanted to just move all 11 properties. As folks have talked about it more, there's been some more questions about town wells, so that's why we switched to just the 9 for now.
okay.
But yes, this is I see this as an administrative thing. We didn't know we had to go to town council until Mike finally straightened us out.
Okay. Well, it's good to have people straighten you out, right? We want to do everything right. Thanks a lot. Well, it only took 20 years. So did Justine say something like, you got to do this before I die or before I leave Dover?
I'm hoping we'll do it before I die.
That I agree, Amy, that too. All right. Well, thank you all.
Thank you. David?
I would just like to say thank you to Anna for hearing the water rights issue. I'm in full support of actually all 11 going in, but right now doing 9 and coming up with a way to still keep under your purview the 2 parcels with possible water rights for the future, but preserve those rights. So this is a perfect compromise, and I thank you all for doing it and working with Nina and all. So that's it. Thank you.
Great, thanks. I have a longer answer for you on water rights if you want it at some point. We don't have to do it right now, but
Yeah,
I've gone back and
I'd love
forth
to
with Nina
hear
for a
it,
while.
but we have so much on the agenda
Yeah.
right now that I appreciate your holding off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
it would be great maybe to have it on the agenda, maybe after
Sure.
town meeting, because I know there's been a lot of rain recently, like 9 inches last month.
Yeah.
But it's an important subject, so
Yeah.
it probably warrants having more time to learn about it.
Yeah, sure. I can email Mona and we can find a time for me
Okay,
to show up
great.
and give a slower version.
Sounds great. Thank you, Anna.
Anna, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Anything else you'd like to add before we go to the motion?
I just want to make sure I answered questions, so I'm good.
Well, thank you. And as Robin said, I've heard the presentation twice. Robin's heard it twice. David's probably heard it twice. So yeah, at least. So we are, and I'd welcome everyone to go back to your presentation, Anna, from Open Hearing. I'd go back to your presentation for Open Space. It's available in a lot of different places. So, and it's well done. So please, we as the Board of Selectmen would suggest anybody who is interested in a deeper dive, please go back to either of those places. So with that, I'm going to move to support a motion at town meeting to convey the Conservation Commission 9 of the 11 properties listed in the warrant and recommended by the commission, and ask for a second.
Second,
All in favor? I, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Anna, thank you. very much.
Yeah,
Amy,
thank you.
thanks for the clarification. I was pretty sure that part of that land was probably yours or your backyard or your grandmother's, but I
Next door,
literally
next door, next door.
I've tried to walk back there. I would never ride a bike back there, Amy, just for,
It's underwater right now,
I
so
was
you
gonna say, you're gonna need a
boat.
canoe.
I think we're all gonna need some deep waders.
Canoe.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much. I also would suggest if anybody would like a map, a very detailed map of all of the other parcels, it's available. It's going to be available on this presentation. Please just scroll down, go through they're very well done, very well highlighted, and they're informative. It's a really a living education of the of conservation and the Dover culture. So please do take a look. The next item, warrant committee recommendations on annual town meeting, and Cam Hudson is here. Cam, how are you this evening? You are muted, sir.
He wants to make sure we can lip read.
Yeah, exactly. I was
It's a
just waiting for
test.
Dave to remind me, actually. I'm very well, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cam. So, Cam, you have lots of warrant articles, and
Indeed.
in what I would suggest, we do not expect you to have a deep dive into these this evening, but certainly we'll leave it up to you as to how you would like to articulate just scrolling through the various articles for town meeting.
Thank you, John. In fact, your thinking is very much aligned to mine. There is no way I can go through all of those articles and the logic or the motivations we had in voting on them during this meeting. But I thought I'd just select some highlights and go through the ones that are potentially that we actually voted against to give you the understanding of that. But I really am proposing to discuss in some detail the motivations behind our recommendations on Article 4, the operating budget, and to a lesser extent on Article 5, the capital budget. Following that, in the interest of brevity, I will focus my remarks on those warrant articles that the warrant committee does not recommend that the town meeting adopt. In subsequent discussions, I'm quite happy to outline the warrant committee's thinking on our recommendations on any other articles that the board would like to review. The warrant committee has been working diligently on reviewing the FY25 town budget since September 2023. And we issued budget guidance to town departments, committees, and boards in early October, exhorting them to submit level service budgets. The committee requested that this guidance be followed and that all exceptions be explicit and justified. Once the town had assembled these proposals, the proposals from the various town entities, it became apparent that agreeing to all requests would have resulted in an increase in the operating budget of more than 10%, something that the warrant committee was very concerned about. We then worked with the acting finance director, the town administration, and our liaison with the Board of Selectmen to find ways of coming to a more acceptable number, identifying several areas of possible savings, especially reducing the higher number of new position requests that were made. We also reviewed all budgets, all departmental board and committee budget requests, and invited most of them to attend a warrant committee meeting for a detailed review. We went into the annual review with the knowledge that a significant portion of the budget was determined by uncontrollable costs, primarily insurance and energy costs, plus contractual and statutory obligations. We were impressed by the willingness of the town to consider creative ways to reduce budget increases, especially with regard to new hires, and also valued the work of the Personnel Board and the Board of Selectmen in producing an agreement for a 3% cost of living increase for non-contractual employees, something that I think was considerably more favourable to the town than many in the neighbourhood. We appreciated too the work of the school committees to constrain increases in their budgets as well. Finally, we noted that open hearing did not raise any substantive concerns about the proposed operating budget. The outcome of all these creative efforts resulted in a final budget proposal, which the Warrant Committee accepted, with an overall operating budget increase of 6.8% over FY24. Given the underlying uncontrollable costs and obligations, as well as a surge in inflation, we believe this is a laudable effort. It is also worth noting that a major element of this increase was due to debt maintenance obligations following the decision of last year's town meeting to fund the new community centre. The Warrant Committee therefore voted to recommend the approval of the operating budget to be presented to town meeting as Article 4 in the published warrant. The Warrant Committee also reviewed the capital budget proposed by the Capital Budget Committee on several occasions and appreciated their efforts to find ways to reduce the impact of budgets due to an aging capital stock. These efforts have resulted in a final proposal for capital outlays in FY25 of 1.98 million, which represents only some 58% of the previous year's capital budget. The Warrant Committee voted to recommend the approval of the capital budget sent to us by the Capital Budget Committee. It will be presented to town meeting as Article 5 of the published warrant. We're reserved in expressing too much enthusiasm for this outcome, since we are only too aware of a significant increase in capital budget requests in upcoming years. I'll now move to consideration of two articles we did not recommend. Both articles are, coincidentally, the result of citizens' petitions. Article 24 is a petition for the town to construct a sidewalk on Cross Street. The Warrant Committee unanimously recommended against approving this article. This recommendation was the result of two main issues. First, we perceived a lack of clarity on the proposed design of the sidewalk. We felt that the design, such as it was from the petitioner, was not unambiguously feasible, nor was it clear whether the proposed location was exclusively on town property or could meet the regulatory obligations. Secondly, we were not confident that the cost estimates provided by the petitioner were realistic. For such a proposal to be approved, we would expect a detailed engineering design to be available and a detailed estimate of the costs based on that design to be presented to us after vetting by the Department of Public Works. Article 25, the other petition that we did not vote in favour of, is a petition for the town to enact a bylaw that would require all dogs to be on a leash when in public places or on streets. While the Warrant Committee agreed with the general sense of the proposal, most members believed the bylaw as presented needed some refining. On the one hand, the proposal was very explicit on some things, such as leash length, while remaining vague on what constitutes a public place or on the possible exceptions to the rule, and on appropriate enforcement mechanisms. Moreover, it is unclear how the bylaw would treat service dogs that may be under voice control. We noted that at open hearing, the petitioner stated that he would be proposing an amendment to the article to allow an exception for the Norfolk Hunt Club, hinting at a less than thorough consideration of exceptions. The petitioner also pointed out that Dover stands alone amongst towns in the vicinity, which all have some form of dog leash bylaw. The Warrant Committee concluded that a more comprehensive bylaw should be crafted, perhaps by the town administration or a working group of citizens to present at a future town meeting. This concludes my comments, but I am, of course, willing to address those items above and any other of the warrant articles that I have not gone into in this discussion. Thank you for your patience with me.
Cam, thank you. Very well done. Very thoughtful, very detailed, very comprehensive. And for those of you that don't know the amount of time, energy, effort the members of the warrant committee put in, Robin sat on warrant committee here in Dover I sat on the warrant committee in Wellesley for many years. It is a very difficult task. It's a lot of work. So thank you, Cam. Thank you for your time and commitment. There are other members of your committee who are on the call this evening. Would you, Cam, would you like, or I'd certainly like the opportunity for you to recognize them, or or if they would like to add anything. Always nice to hear from the other members of the committee. Sarah.
Yes, I would certainly like to acknowledge the efforts of all the other committee members, including those who've joined us tonight. Woody Weiss is present, and Sarah Cadena-Kinney is also present, and Marty Howard. They've provided sterling support to the efforts of the Warren Committee, and they're greatly appreciated. Thank you. If you want to have any comments, Woody, Sarah, or Marty, by all means, here's your opportunity.
Nothing to add.
Hearing none, I think we can go on,
Well,
John. Thank you for
thank you.
acknowledging them.
It's really nice to have you here, and we greatly appreciate all the work that you do, with the time and effort that you give to the town. Robin, any questions, comments?
So I stepped in as the liaison, and I hope the warrant committee found my suggestions helpful. You know, I certainly enjoyed very much working with the group and them allowing me to provide some insight. I think what we did very well together as a team, and I guess I got there at the perfect time in a sense, with the help of Mike and Chris and Carl, was pulling together the budget and really understanding the composition of the increase, finding a way to present that to the town that was transparent and clear. And I believe in the end, that's what made open hearings as successful as it was, and reminding citizens of Dover about the challenges we face with inflation, replacing staffing. And again, I really commend Mike. He's new, we always forget that Michael hasn't been here all that long, and neither has Chris, but their willingness to reach out to departments, to reach compromises so that we could really find ways to try and reduce the overall increase. And Michael is still working on items to try and get that down further. So, I really commend the work that the committee did. The same is true for capital budgets. Capital budgets work very hard getting down the overall cost to the town. And I think the diligence that both committees do, and the new guidelines that, we could probably do a better job enforcing some of them, but I think it was a start drafting them. And I would suggest that maybe after town meeting, we sort of have a little get together and say what worked, what could have worked better. Are there still gaps that we should find ways to fill? But overall, I think we are where we are today because of a lot of hard work of many. So thank you to all of you on the committee.
Robin, if I may say so, it feels rather weak to say that I agree with all of your comments. I've really appreciated the support you have provided to the Warrant Committee this year, and your ideas and your willingness to roll up your sleeves and do some work to help us get clarity on the budget issues has been extraordinary. And so thank you so much.
Well, I'm a numbers nerd. I drive everybody in my company crazy when I'm recalculating what my analysts do. So I don't know. I think I have a bit of OCD.
A bit. Cam, we can add other parts of Robin's life to not just her company, but
Yeah.
Dave, before I ask for your comments, I just want to add one thing, and Cam, this is really just to follow up on what you mentioned and Robin articulated, and that is in December of last year, Robin and I literally had to take our entire world of the Board of Selectmen and divide it in half. We literally had to decide, okay, what do you want to do and what do I want to do in terms of what Bob did? And we had to literally take all the duties of the selectmen, and it was just her and I. And I gave her the hardest one, which is Warren. For
By
the
the way, we're
reason,
keeping it that way, right?
I hope so.
But for all those reasons that you mentioned, Cam, and the reasons that Robin, she stepped in well, and she just, as you described, Cam, she's been very good at this. I also, David, before you begin, I just want to mention one thing, Cam, and that is Robin and I, Robin with schools and with myself with police and fire and the union employees under Kevin McCabe and the non-union employees, we really had to meet Cam with them. And really, as you articulated, we had to get to the point where everyone understood that in an inflationary period like we have just come through, human capital and human costs were really driving this budget. And we worked extraordinarily hard with the schools through Robin, with the other unions through myself, and with Mike, and to get to the point where we came away with a mutual acceptance of this is not going to be easy. Not everyone is going to get everything that they want, but in the interest of doing it really well for everyone, we had to come up with a way to get it done, and we did it. We're proud of it, and I know that you are as well. So just want to mention that and thank everybody who has been a part of that. David?
Well, in this case, going last is almost redundant, but I would like to add my thanks to everyone on the warrant committee, capital budget, and everyone who was involved on at the townhouse to get this across the finish line. I do have one question for you, Cam. Were there any, I'm going to use the word significant split votes that we should be aware of? Any, 5-4s or something like
Right.
that?
In fact, the vast majority of votes were unanimous. And of the two articles that we didn't agree on, one of those was unanimous and the other one was a split. I think it was 6-3 in favor of requesting further refinement. There wasn't any emotional division since we all really saw the merit of a dog leash law. Some would have been more willing to just sort of, well, let's use this one and move on. But we felt there was a need to get a more consistent and clearly worded bylaw so that we get rid of potential misunderstandings.
Wise. I mean, it's going to be a supercharged issue for many. I have 2 dogs and I'm in support of the concept, but as you say, the devil is in the details, and let's get it right before we all agree to it. So personally, I laud the effort, but I agree with you that a little bit of refinement and one more go will probably get it to where it needs to be.
Indeed.
So other than that, John, I'm all set. So thank you.
David, thank you. Cam, there's no motion that is required.
Indeed.
It's your overview, the way you articulated it is it's really well done, and I thank you for it. The only thing I'll add before we move on is Monday, May 6th at
Indeed.
at
That's the
7
next big
p.m.
hurdle.
That's that is where it all comes together, and please do come. Please come to town meeting. It's important. It's your representation, whether you're for leash laws or against them. Please show up and sidewalks and everything else that we have on the agenda. So thank you all. We're going to move to the next item of business. this evening, which, by the way, is requiring us to scroll through about 80 pages of items. So if you bear with me for one more minute, we'll get.
I would also like to commend whoever decided to put the warrant on 8x11 paper with big prints. Very excellent idea. Very good idea.
So if the board has a mind, I was going to mention this under my updates, but yeah, the warrant was mailed, and you will notice it was a significant change in size. I'd like to thank Mona for that suggestion.
I love it.
She made it happen, and yeah, we think it's great. The feedback has been wonderful, and I think it was a good trial to get people's feedback, because another comment we received is the blue book is difficult to read. This year it will go out in its traditional smaller booklet size, but perhaps this would be a good trial for perhaps considering doing the blue book next year in a larger size as well.
Oh, it's just my eyes are really appreciative.
There's so many things that I could comment on, but I am not. I'm going to go right to the next item of business. So the Board of Selectmen recommendations on annual town meeting and warrant articles. So Mike, we had the conversation yesterday, so I'm going to let you weigh in on the items that are on under our agenda. And I think that we should follow Cam's lead in terms of how we're going to address our particular items. What do you think of that?
I think that's a great idea. So, in the board's packet, you have a kind of summary sheet of all the articles. Traditionally, you've made, with the exception of kind of the committee reports, and the last, the town election, you've made recommendations, either yes, no, or no position, or hold on the items. John, I think your point is well taken. Again, the board has discussed all of these at some point as we've approved the warrant. You've seen presentations from myself or various boards and committees. So, perhaps, if as a board, if there's any in particular you'd like to review more in depth. Otherwise, when you feel ready, you could make a motion to approve, a bunch as a group, and then any individual ones that you feel that you perhaps want further discussion on.
I tell you what I would like to do is I'd like to leave the two citizens petitions for the end of this particular segment. I think we probably all have individual thoughts on those two articles. It won't take long for all three of us to let everyone know how we feel individually. And we've heard a lot on those. The detail on the others has been significant. So I'm sure we are all three capable of giving chapter and verse on all of the articles. But Robin, would you like to specifically weigh in on any of these as a group, or would you prefer individually?
So I would take Cam's lead, and I suppose I would suggest that maybe we talk about Articles 4 and 5.
Okay.
And that the special articles we just go over briefly. For instance, the appropriation of one-time projects for the development of the housing plan, and the zoning articles. And I don't expect to have a lot of conversation, and then do the citizens petitions last, because I think that's what residents may be interested in knowing, where we stand. That would be my weight. You know, I said to Mike, I don't know what it is, but I just never remember doing this. And I know we do it every year, but for
Every year.
some reason, and next year I won't remember again. So Mike, you should record this or something, because I know we've done it every single year. I just don't remember.
Yeah, yeah, we do it every year. Dave, seeing where you've never done this in the capacity of a selectman, um, are you okay with what I've suggested, what Robin has sort of seconded? And would you like to add any context or color to any of these specifically?
I agree. We ought to spend some time on 4 and 5, given it's the meat of the entire budget.
Right.
And then would it make sense if we grouped the bylaw changes and had just one general supporting statement at
Love it.
the meeting?
Yes.
That sounds
Because
great.
we need to do it. We need to let everyone in the town know that these are beneficial to the town. They should be done. Some of them are required by law. Some of them are required by necessity. And as we learned earlier, some of this is just housekeeping, but we need to do it. So
Right.
that's how I would do it. Just, you know, 1 or 2 supporting statements as a group before the first one, before the first bylaw article. And then, you know, if you like, I'll put pen to paper, come up with an idea, and well, I can't share it with you. So how do we do this? I'll share it with Mike.
Well,
You sure?
well, I think let's start, you know, Article 4
Right, right. Arctic, and just
as presented.
Robin, I'm going to ask you to start with Article 4, but before we do that, I'm just going to remind everyone that Article 1, 2, and 3 are really are items that do not require an in-depth review. They're articles that Jim will read through. He'll at town meeting, he will read through, explain. And now Kate, who is actually here with us tonight, will take the place of Dave Haviland. Keep him on
He's
track.
going to try.
Is going to try.
He has the bell. The power's been transferred.
I don't know. Cam Hudson is very good with that timer. I was impressed.
Cam might have a future.
Right.
1 through 3 will be items that will just be read through, that the town moderator will read through and will explain in a very brief summary. So Robin, Article 4, why don't you begin Article 4, then we can simply move to Article 5 in keeping in the let's group these together and just give a high level of where we are.
So, you know, for Article 4, I think everybody needs to understand it started at an over 10% increase, and a lot of work was done to bring it to where it is. A significant portion of the 6.8% represents the principal and interest with respect to the overage for the community center, which the town voted for. So if you pull that out, the increase is somewhere around 5.2%. You know, I think Mike did a great job at the open hearing of identifying some other potential reductions to the operating budget that we would try to make. And the hope is we would be able to present a reduced budget at town meeting, and those items are working with Park and Rec to put together a more staged approach to hiring for the Dover Community Center. And I think we are in agreement with them, but the devil's in the details. So we're going to put together a memorandum of understanding of how we may operate, and then you're going to bring that back to this board. The idea of combining the treasurer with the director of finance. That was an opportunity that arose after the budget was put together, when unfortunately our treasurer departed, but it also gave us an opportunity to look at the role. And that is something I believe Michael thinks would be, and both our interim director of finance thinks will be a great thing for the town to combine that those two roles, and that represents a cost savings, and also that also supports what we're trying to do, getting creative with filling positions and finding ways to do things more efficiently. So with respect, it's a long-winded way of saying that with respect to Article 4, I am comfortable with where it's at. However, I'm more comfortable by the fact that I know we will be able to reduce it even more once it gets to town meeting. There are also items in the operating budget that are what I'd call nice to have items, but they are part of the overall strategy to fund our liabilities. So we do have other tools in the budget that, if need be, we could reduce and preserve free cash so that we can reduce the operating budget further in future years. So, again, I was very concerned about the budget at 10%. I'm much more comfortable with where it is right now. And I am very comfortable by the fact that the staff and all the boards and committees understand what we're up against, and everybody is working really hard to continue to find ways, creative ways, to reduce our operating costs.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you, Robin. David, would you like to add anything to Article 4, the general operating budget?
I think that was a very nice summary Robin gave, and let's not prolong it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Article 5 is capital budget, and capital budget means things that we have to replace typically. Items that need to be replaced are items that are typically well outside their expected life usage. Trucks, police vehicles, equipment, safety equipment, and things that are used that break, things that have to be replaced. And on a very high level, that once again, Jim Rapetti will read through, will give cost for each, and for life expectancy, we'll have, in where needed, we will have Kevin McCabe, and we'll have members of capital budget available to weigh in on the specific items. Robin, Dave, would you like to add anything specifically to, in terms of context and color, to Article 5 capital budgets?
Again, I would say the committee did a really good job working with all the town departments. I think a couple of things that are worth talking about was the ability, we were able to use grants for some of the infrastructure projects, which really helped. I would like to give a shout out to Carl Warnick, who spent a lot of extra time and ultimately found an extremely creative solution for an HVAC system for the library that came in at $390,000 as opposed to 1.2 million, which was the estimate that we got. He worked with the chair of capital budget diligently, and I think it was an excellent outcome. It's a more simple system, but it's going to provide the heating and cooling that the library needs, and also help reduce our carbon footprint. So, again, I think it's just kudos to everybody. I can't say enough about the staff's willingness to embrace looking for grants, trying to find creative ways. The chair of capital budgets is a bulldog and constantly trying to find less expensive ways. And, you know, the staff has really risen to the occasion. So, you know, I appreciate the hard work and the diligence of the committees. Now, we still have a lot of capital that is being requested in the out years, and you know, we're going to have to go through the same process each year, and the reality is we may not be able to do it all in a given year, and we may have to spread things out. But
Yeah.
you know, I think we have a great team.
Dave, would you like to add anything?
Again, my own thanks. I don't want to just repeat a topic for the sake of repeating it, but thank you to everyone.
Just one item for me that in the deep dive inside of these various articles in the various line items, Whiting Road building, which is owned by the town, which is a building that has been rented and leased to private parties, is going to be taken back by, it's always been under the town. It's a building, it's an asset that is slated for use by the community center for long-term storage. That is something, it's been suggested numerous times that we really look at that as a long-term asset. The upgrade has been in the budget several different times. It's part of the community center package. It also, as we've talked about earlier this evening with the transfer of properties, it's still a very valuable asset to the town, and something that, as Robin said, we can use that as an asset that we don't have to move the money to immediately. We can do it over time. We can also look at the long-term availability of that building as a town asset. So that has a bit of a unique place amongst the other items that are really just capital items for things that have, as I said earlier, run at their useful life or just need to be replaced. Let's move on to items 6, 7, 8. I'm going to do this in the Cam Hudson fashion of lumping these together. 6, 7, 8, and 9, and say that these are articles that have been historically items the selectmen bring to town meeting with the expectation they are going to be passed. They're a little bit deeper than just housekeeping items. They're items that are built into contractual obligations. They're items that are built into a long-term plan. The road construction, reconstruction, improvements are under Kevin McCabe's budget. They're under our long-term plan. The Board of Selectmen puts a tremendous amount of time in our planning sessions to go through these and to be sure that our various committees have them on their radar and that they're kept up to date. Robin, Dave, would you like to add anything to those items 6, 7,
No.
8, 9?
No, that's the consent agenda, right?
Pretty
Right.
much, yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Items that, item 10, the General Stabilization Fund, Dover Sherburne Regional OPEB, stabilization funds, appropriation for unpaid bills. These are items 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. These are items that we've established, the Board of Selectmen have established in prior years. One of the things that Robin had pointed out to earlier is we have the ability to fund these through free cash. We have the ability to do this as part of our budgeting, our planning, again, in the summer and in the fall that we go through we put a lot of time, a lot of energy into the due diligence to be sure that these items are in the budget and that we have the ability, because they are housekeeping items that we have addressed in years, that we've created a process around and an action item so that they would be funded each year. Robin, would you like to add anything to these?
No, I think, again, these are things that this year I continue to support and believe that they are things that we can continue to do.
Dave?
We need to do them. It's for the betterment of the town. So I'm in support.
Takes us to Article 15, which is the establishment and authorize the amount of a revolving fund for the community center. This is something Robin referred to earlier, and we need to fund the department. We need to have the source of funds available. This articulates where they come from, how we get them, and what we do with them. Obviously, the amount is not to exceed a specific dollar amount. Again, Dave or Robin, anything you'd like to add to this?
No, but did you forget the DPW one before it?
Did I? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. So, John, I can jump in. So I'll just add 14 and 15 are new revolving funds.
Right.
If these are approved this year, in future years, they'll be under item number 3. So they'll be part of just kind of the routine revolving fund. Because they're new, they're separated out because they require a separate vote. For DPW, this is related to income specifically right now related to scrap metal and bottle and can deposits. This is supported by the recycling committee, and there's a significant amount of funds that are generated that instead of having them returned to free cash, they're asking if they could maintain and be used at the transfer station. So become a revolving fund, not to exceed $35,000. The second one, as John mentioned, is for the community center. That's not to exceed $25,000. And this would be specifically for the rental fees and other charges related to the community center. We don't really have a good sense of what all of that will entail yet and what the use of the building will be. But this allows us to keep that money in the building and use it, whether if somebody rents a room on the weekends and it requires a custodian, we can use those funds to pay for the staff and other maintenance and upkeep within the building. And as I said, if these are approved this year, in the future, you won't see them as separate articles. They'll be part of just the annual fund.
Right, and I think it's important for residents to understand that the funds flow into this account, and up to the specified amount of the revolving fund, those funds can be used again for the special purpose of that particular, like in the community center, it would be for the community center. For the DPW, it would be for recycling efforts. And instead of just coming back to free cash. So, I think Park and Rec has had one of these for many, many years. And I think it's a great way to be able to use some of the fees that get charged to offset immediately some of the operating costs. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine, Mike, there would be a process where we would keep track of how the funds are spent. So if anybody wanted to see what came in and what got spent, all that is available to see.
Absolutely. Yep. With all of our existing revolving funds, even with these new ones, correct.
Right.
David, would you like to add anything to that? I think that
no, Mike gave a very eloquent description.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. And Article 16 is self-explanatory. It's just to rescind borrowing that we no longer need. So I don't think it requires a whole lot of analysis. Article 17, one-time projects, the development of a housing plan. Robin, this is you. Do you want to just any comment and context to this?
Right. So as you all know, we established the Housing Task Force, which is which is actually a great group. It's comprised of both town staff, members of the planning board, Concom, and open space. And we meet monthly. And the first what we focused on was what we called the low-hanging fruit. So making sure that we had processes in place, making sure that we had checklists that everybody could use, making sure that communication, I mean, these seem like simple things, but because we're so decentralized, we needed to set up processes so information flowed, and just having these meetings makes information flow more efficiently. And now we're tackling the more difficult phase of this, and this is really the future of Dover and housing, and whether or not we can find a way to blend what citizens desire, which is open space, with a need for more diverse housing stock. And internally, we just do not have the expertise. So we are trying to get proposals. We have a placeholder for somewhere between 50 and 100,000. And really it is for this committee to work with a consultant that would provide us with different kinds of tools and recommendations. You know, maybe we want to change some of our bylaws. Maybe we want to work with friendly developers. It's just right now we just react to everything, and we want to be able to be proactive, and that's why we're asking for these funds.
Well done. Article 18, amend general bylaws. It's Article 18, 19 are zoning and planning and land use articles. So they're from a construction standpoint. And so Carol Lisbon gave the overview of these at Open Space, both 18 and 19 and 20. There's a lot to these articles. There's a lot of thought and attention from the planning board that has gone into 18 and 19. Specifically for the construction hours, it's a matter of being consistent, where if an abutter is next to a homeowner, a home being built, or a construction process, or even something as simple as leaf blowers, if there's if there are if there is no time restriction on construction hours, then it literally can be from sun up to sundown given various projects. So I applaud the planning board for taking this on, and it's something that is way overdue. The solar planning and the solar initiative is for small and medium scale projects. This is a result of solar and the growing solar home use that hopefully is going to become a larger part of our town and the fabric of our town. So we're I'm really applaud the planning board for taking these on. There's something that we need to do, and I think there will be a start to these, and I do see in the future these being amended, and I see both of these as a work in progress. Robin, Dave, would you like to add anything to 18 or 19?
No.
Other than, again, these are issues that we have to deal with as a town right now. This is dealing with the sides of what's going on with construction and making more palatable for neighbors. And then I know that some of the solar projects have been brought before the planning board. We need a bylaw to address them. So one quick one, back up to 17, John.
Yes.
There's three real needs for this. One, Dover deciding what Dover would like to do on our housing plan. And anytime we can control the what, the where, and the when, and the how much, it would be very nice to have a study which will allow us to know what can we do, where can we do it, when can we do it, etc. So it's also a toolkit for addressing 40Bs and having large scale development. I'm going to use the words forced upon us under the 40B law. And what can we do when we wish to modify it? What tools can we give ourselves to benefit the town? And then, of course, everyone's aware of the MBTA Communities Act and what are our options?
Yeah.
That's what this study is going to tell us, because what we don't want to do is get closer to our deadline and not know our options. And we don't have this expertise in town or in-house. We need an expert to tell us what our options are, and thus the study. And then the final one, again, I way back when I was in the Dover Housing Task Force, or whatever it was called back then, and we still are talking about creating affordable housing for us, for our citizens, for our town employees. So this will be all part of that, and be delivered to the town, similar to the water study that just came in, which I will admit that I've only got about 10% through.
It's long.
There's a
It's
lot to it.
long.
Yeah, there is a lot to it. Dave, I just want to add one other thing that this will hopefully prepare us, give us as part of the toolkit. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the state legislature has just passed one, either through the Senate or the House. I'm not sure which, but there is going to be, or there is being proposed, a tax on transfer of properties that will create a fund that each individual city or town in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts will be able to use for the purpose of identifying areas of cluster zones and cluster housing. So this is something that is a big initiative, as you said, Dave, that the MBTA Community Act has begun. The legislature is now taking it to another step. There's going to be some type of dollar amount associated with every transfer. If that passes, if it becomes a general law, it's going to be very interesting and it'll be very impactful. We just have to figure out how and how does it benefit? How do we, the town of Dover, benefit from things like this? So I will remind everyone, the MBTA Community Act is not something the town of Dover has begun. It's not something we've committed to. We're not going to commit to that until sometime in the late summer or fall, when we have all the facts in front of us. This will be a help in that process.
An option. What are our options?
Yeah, what exactly? Thank you. What are our options? So David, does that bring us up to 20? Did I skip any of these? 19, 20? I know
I
that
think you're caught up.
Michael, I'm trying to keep everybody on track and trying to get through these as fast as possible without really missing anything for anybody's benefit. But Mike, are we at 20, the storm water management?
Yeah, we're at 20, and Kevin's here. He could provide a little background and answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, Kevin, can you just give us a very brief, because we did address this at open space.
Sure.
I might have been a little bit too harsh with some of the members of open space, so I apologize publicly. I was on the soapbox for Kevin McCabe, and I was explaining to everyone how you, through your guidance, and we, the Board of Selectmen, have taken under the drainage, the culvert study, the culvert counting, and the cleaning of the catch basins. I even regaled them with what streets have recently been done. So, Kevin, could you give us a little bit of color and clarity to this?
Sure. So first and foremost, the town is not in compliance with our current MS4 permitting, which is the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. referred to as the MS4. So first and foremost, it's to capture that. So in the eyes of the EPA, we are compliant with our current stormwater bylaw. In a grand scheme of things, this protects our water resources. Obviously, the compliance with state and federal regs, extremely important. It will prevent illegal connections into our municipal storm drains, which obviously in this past summer, I'm sure everyone was affected in some way, shape, or form. Currently now with our existing permit, the only trigger is for parcels of development that are over 1 acre or larger through the NIPIDs permit. So that's the only kind of sanction the town has to weigh in. So this captures a little bit of or all of the small development. So those trigger points would be land disturbance of basically 25% of the lot or 5,500 square feet, whichever smaller. If they were proposing to tie into the drainage system, town owned, there'd be, regulatory review by the Stormwater Authority, which would be under the Department of Public Works. So the town engineer, the planning board would look at it. There'd be controls to implement, best management practices, to retain, natural resources, to prevent water runoff and sediment from leaving construction sites. Which was probably the majority of the calls that my department fielded all summer long. And to be so setting up this bylaw or replacing it, I should say, it puts those controls in effect so that we have say what goes on in our town and to be able to capture stormwater on all these small sites. And so there would be a pre-permit process. Another portion of this, there would be a buffer around a tree buffer. And if proposed trees needed to be removed in that property buffer, we'd be setting up a future Dover tree care fund where funds could be contributed. And if it wasn't feasible to replant on, the said development on a small parcel of land, we'd be able to do that holistically across the town at a better planting site. So those are pretty much the main captures. And I know Val Lynn, we've been working very close on this. If I missed anything, please fill in any gap for me.
Hi, Valerie.
Hello, great job, Kevin.
Val, thank you. I know
So you have nothing to add, Val?
No, I think you did a great job summarizing it.
Good
Val
job,
did a
Kevin.
fabulous job on Tuesday night at Open Space with these. And the only thing I would add to Kevin's report and what Valerie reported on Tuesday is the Board of Selectmen, through our long-term planning and our general rebalancing of the town, of the departments, of various committees that we felt were no longer needed. We've eliminated many. We've added some, like Val's new committee for trees, and this is part of that holistic approach that Kevin just spoke to. Robin, David, would you like to add anything to Article 20?
No, I just appreciate all the work that has gone into it. I know it has taken many, many, many hours. And thank you to everybody, Kevin, Val, the planning board, Nina. I know
Most definitely, Nina.
Right,
Yes.
you guys have spent an enormous amount of time, and I think, we hopefully, I believe we have a bylaw that does address the regulations and our needs as a town. So kudos to all of you.
Thank you.
Again, I'll just say thank you to all involved, and I totally support this, along with all the bylaw changes. So that's why I said if we have a one sweeping statement over all the bylaw changes in support, then we're fine.
Right.
Article 21, authorization of the Board of Assessors regarding contracts exceeding 3 years. This is self-explanatory. We can extend contracts from 3 to not exceeding 6 years. Something that the assessors feel is it just will be a help and a benefit to the town. Article 22, we've heard from earlier, the transfer of town-owned land. The Conservation Committee went through that in detail. I don't think there's anything that we need to add to that other than just for those that missed it earlier, just go back and listen to the presentation from earlier this evening. There are Article 23 is just the acceptance of loan aggregation program. I don't think there's anything to add to that. Robin or Dave, is there anything that you would like to weigh in on with regards to it? It's just fairly self-explanatory.
Yep.
And which leads us to the two articles, 24 and 25. I'll be happy to start just from the selectman standpoint. We have not taken these up publicly. There's no board of selectmen view on these individually. That we're not required to vote on these as a board. We can make our personal feelings known this evening. We can take a measure up if the board wishes to. If we feel it's not necessary, we can just allow this to be our communication for this evening, and then we can communicate it at town meeting as a board at town meeting. The sidewalk installation, Article 24. Myself personally, I am directly in line with Cam and the warrant committee. I am not in favor of this for many of the reasons that Cam articulated. And Article 25, I also am not in favor of the leash law bylaw. Robin, would you like to weigh in?
So I'm very process oriented, and I know a lot of time was spent on process for citizens petitions. And I am not in favor of Article 24 because in spite of all the education and requests that were made, ultimately I don't believe we have all the information we need to vote on this intelligently. With respect to Article 25, I agree with the Warren Committee. They had some very good conversation. I think as a town, since all other towns have leash laws, we could benefit from perhaps having a leash law. But I really think a lot more work should be done on the bylaw, and we should look at surrounding towns and really try and understand what the problem is that we're trying to solve. So I think the intent is good. I just think we need a little more time and work. And somebody suggested a committee, and I think that would be a great idea to better understand what we're trying to do.
Dave?
Article 24, I am against for not only the reasons that have been mentioned, but I also have a tough time with taxpayer monies going to support private enterprise without a corresponding benefit back to the town. And that's exactly what this appears to me. And the other thing that I just gave a little thought is the clientele ages are not only kindergarten, but pre-K. And I want to know one parent who's going to let a 3, 4, or 5-year-old walk across Center Street without adult supervision. So I think the intent is perhaps good, but the implementation is horrible. And again, I am not at all in support of 24. Article 25, I am in support of the concept. Cam, I thought your explanation of the warrant committee's deliberation was a good one. The only thing that hasn't been said yet that I'm aware of is the leash law that we don't have. We should get it to dovetail with the actual leash laws of TTOR, Hale, and other large quasi-public properties of the town so that it's just consistent and go from there. So perhaps with Article 25, we could have that go back, get refined, whether it's Robin's idea of a committee. I'll leave that to the sponsor and what he would like to do with it. But I'm in support but I understand the need to refine and improve, and would defer to that need.
Thank you very much, David. Article 26, the transfer from free cash, the stabilize the tax rate. This is something that we have been refining. We've been fine tuning. We have been working on for 9 years now, and I think we have it down to a science. It has worked incredibly well for us.
Don't
We
jinx us, John.
I was gonna say, oh no.
Right.
we we started this 8 years ago with the free cash committee, and but this all came about, Dave and Kate Canny and Robin and I will remember, in a very heated discussion.
Sunday afternoon, I think.
Yeah, in a very small room, in a hot, heated conversation with the Board of Selectmen and Warrant, and this has been the result many years later. So it served the town incredibly well. So out of those small, heated discussions where people were really passionate about their views, something very, very good has come for a lot of good benefit, and for many years to come, hopefully. So
I
that's
think
Article
the town
26.
moderator would be proud because we disagreed. We were disagreeable. But we came back. We came back to a position of mutual respect and finding a path forward.
We did. Well said. Well said. And continue to do so year after year, which is really, it is really to everyone's benefit. Article 27 is the town election. Nothing needs to be added to that. And the final is, there's nothing really to add to 27.
Well, I think it's key dates, the moderators meeting, which is
Yes.
April 25th, and then town meeting, Monday, May 6th.
Monday, May 6th, as we
What
said with
time does
you,
it start? 7?
7.
No, 6:45. Tell everyone 6:45.
6:45.
6:30.
6:30.
For those that arrive at 6:30, pizza will be available.
Yeah, right.
Michael, is there anything that you would like just from a housekeeping, or is it anything that we missed? We tried to be as thorough as possible, as quick as possible. In the interest of time, I didn't want to belabor any of these, but I did want to make sure that everyone had a chance.
No, I think you did it all. So again, traditionally you've taken a position. So what I heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I might suggest a motion to recommend Articles 2 through 23 and 26. And then if that's accurate, then perhaps a motion to not recommend, at least at this time, Articles 24 and 25.
That is,
Or to hold, I guess.
that is what I
That's your
have. Robin, is that what you have?
Well, I think with respect to Article 24 and 25, it's we provided our personal positions as citizens and decided as a board to hold. Since I only have 3 options, yes, no, hold.
But we're unanimously, the 3 of us as a board are against both. So I think our 3 positions individually, they make up the collective vote of the board. And I think that's how we've done it in the past. In the past, we've said, 2 versus 1, 1 versus 2, however it was, 1 in favor, 2 not in favor, but we've made it very clear what our vote as individuals were of the board.
Right, so yes or no based upon the warrant articles. I think though Dave and I have a very similar position with respect to the leash law, that we need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, so but as
Right.
I think we're vote wise, yes and no, we're all in the same place, which is no on both.
Right.
Okay. And so Michael, what I'll do is I will make a motion for Articles 2 through 23 that we are in support of and ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Thank you. And on items, Articles 24 and 25, we are we are opposed to Article 24 and 25 and ask for a second.
Before we get to a vote, John, I feel extremely different about 24 versus 25. 24, I am vehemently opposed. 25 needs to be reworked and refined. Big difference. And I'm hoping that the sponsor of Article 25 will consider what we're talking about, which is, I think everyone wants to get to yes. It's just, it needs a little bit more work and a little bit more input. Do you see my difference, why I'm trying to parse this?
Yeah, I do, but we're at the end result is no. And I think for the purpose of the motion of how individually we're getting there, the answer is no on both. And so I just want to be clear, it's no on both.
Very different kind of no, but your point's taken. So I'll
And
second it.
And that's what I was trying to get at as well. Dave.
Okay. Because
You know,
I think Dave,
24 is a hard no, 25 is please go back to the drawing board so we have something
yeah,
to talk about.
right. But ultimately, as it pertains to yes or no, it's no on both.
Right.
And I, we can articulate the soft no, hard no at some other time, and maybe it comes back, and maybe it doesn't come back. But for the purposes of this evening, it's no.
Understood. So seconded.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Thank you very much. We are going to move on to item 5.
John, sorry, I don't think the first vote was 1 through 23.
Yes.
So we want to separately just vote on 26 was the transfer of free cash.
Thank you very much. Transfer of free cash in 27. Do we do that as well?
21 and 27, you don't traditionally take a motion on because it's just business. It's not.
Yeah.
I move the support of Article 26. Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Michael, are we good for the update to move to the update on Hale?
I think so. Yep. Should be good.
Okay. In the interest of time, I am also going to try to be as brief because this is complicated. It's disappointing. It is something we all have spent an enormous amount of time on. There's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of reasons for this. The Hale process is something that we have worked on since 2017, and we've just put a tremendous amount of time, energy, and effort into it, as has Westwood, as has all the members of Hale, the combined Michael, Chris, myself, the corresponding members of Westwood met for hours, many, many, many times. And the reality is that given the circumstances of municipal government and municipal financing, finding a path forward to a conservation restriction in the manner that it has been proposed to us most recently is not going to happen with Hale. And we're extremely disappointed about that. However, we, the Board of Selectmen, together with the Board of Selectmen in Westwood, we've sent a letter back to Hale. We've sent a public notification to the members of our community, to all the stakeholders that have have been following this and have been supporting this and have been active in this, that we still believe there's an opportunity to have a conservation restriction and protect the land in Dover that is part of Hale, the 700 plus acres. We firmly believe that there is a path forward. We believe that there, in the future, we will be able to come back to the table. As I said, there's no point in belaboring it. It is very disappointing that we couldn't get to yes where we wanted to be right here, right now. We do have a letter that is drafted. It's available below. It's available on our website. It was sent out to the members of the Board of Selectmen earlier this afternoon. Robin, would you like to comment in any way on the letter or just make a general comment on this position where we are right now?
So I think the letter was very nicely done, Mike, and it summarizes well the position of the Board of Selectmen. I concur, John, that it is unfortunate that we ended up where we are today. I think what's important for citizens to understand is that we were also given a hard deadline of June 30th, 2024, and a brand new CR. And there is definitely a path forward. There was just no path forward in the short period of time that we had. So I would just like to thank Hale for the opportunity. I would very much like to thank the trustees for stepping in, for being willing to hold the CR, and hopefully maybe at some other point in time we could all reconvene and find a simpler path forward.
David?
Yes, coming into this at the end, but it's my understanding with the new CR, there are changes that were made that legally both towns just could not do.
Right.
And it's important for our citizens and anyone who's disappointed to understand that there were stipulations that were put in the last draft of the CR that Town Council in Westwood and Town Council of Dover both said, we can't do that. So when we went back and then they started to enforce a rather sudden deadline that came, at least from my vantage point, a little bit out of left field of 6:30. And I understand that, they've got their needs, but municipalities work on their own schedule and according to municipal law. And it's very unfortunate because we all were really pushing to get to yes. We still want to get to yes, but it's got to be done in a way that is legal and acceptable for everyone. And that's what we want to hopefully someday get back to.
Yeah, agreed. And David, the only thing I would add from a clarification standpoint is the timing and the change of the CR and the timing and the change of the offer. So the deadline, as Robin pointed out, was a big factor. You may all recall we, the Board of Selectmen, in January had a discussion in January about having a placeholder for the May 6th town meeting. I suggested that we should have a placeholder. We discussed that. We discussed the merits of a placeholder so we could vote on it at the May 6th meeting. We discussed it with our moderator. We discussed it with Open Space. Amy, I'm sure you'll be happy. You can weigh in on this if you'd like, but we had a very lengthy discussion at Open Space, specifically having Open Space be the holders or be the sponsors of an article specifically for a placeholder. What we determined back in January was it would be confusing and it would be a bit of an awkward situation to have a town meeting in May have a placeholder when we were going to have a town meeting after May specifically for Hale. So Dave, I only bring this up with regards to the hard and fast date really didn't come out of left field. We knew there was a date that that Hale and the trustees were going to have to meet. We just didn't know it was going to be as hard of a stop. We did somewhat anticipate it, but as I said, in the January conversations, both here at the Board of Selectmen and in open space, it was determined that a placeholder was not necessary for meeting the deadline. So, Amy, have I got that right? Is there anything you'd like to add to that with regards to that January, the January conversation?
No, I think that's pretty accurate. We were anticipating an early June special town meeting, and I think that it's unfortunate that that piece didn't get on the calendar.
Well, I think the point that's being missed here, which is critical, is the we were working on a $10 million ask with a CR associated with that. And at the last minute, a new deal was presented. And by last minute, about 3 weeks ago, and under the new deal, the CR changed. And this was now a completely different ask. And so that's why this June 30th timeline became much more difficult.
And all of that was in executive session, so none of us know
Well, we
about.
all knew the $10 million ask.
We knew the 10 million, and we knew we had and we met with the open space, Concom, and various other boards met with Hale, or I guess with the trustees and the town on the $10 million ask and
Right. So the point is
and the
nothing.
Dover specific CR. And then, so I don't know anything about any future negotiations or changes of the deal. So all I can comment was the discussions that we had in February.
And all I can comment on is the facts and circumstances changed, and this board was always committed to having a town meeting in May, and we just in May or June specifically related to this, and we were unable to do that because we did not feel as though we had all the information.
Because the CR that was discussed in the executive sessions changed and the dollar amount changed in the meantime.
All I said was the facts and circumstances changed.
Okay.
And it made it
significantly changed.
Right.
And I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying
I just want to make sure
that I have is what was conveyed in February. So
agreed, but even if back in January, February, we set up a town meeting and did everything that has been suggested we could have done, when we got to right now, we don't have a deal.
Right.
And the terms of the new CR were significantly different. And according to both town councils, illegal. So
I'm not disputing that. I'm saying that when we met in February, we had a draft CR that the town council seemed happy with. So all I can say is what was presented in February, and I can't comment on anything else. And
of course.
I hearing about new deals and new terms and new prices, and so I can
no,
verify that we had a been about put it at open space about putting the warrant article in, and why we didn't do that was because we were expecting a special town meeting, and we're starting the process in February to get that going, and then obviously things went sideways, and I don't have any knowledge beyond that.
Totally fair.
Michael, is there anything else that you would like that we might have missed with regards to just the letter back to Hale, where we are with our hope, our expectations, our willingness? Anything that you would like to just publicly state at this moment?
Yeah, I think the only thing I won't repeat, I agree with much of what was said, is I think probably a common question from residents is, well, what happens now? So, as you said, we're sending a letter, offering that we'll keep our door open, but for the residents' benefit, Hale continues to move forward with its campaign to protect its land, just without municipal involvement at this point. So they're working and striving to accomplish as much as the conservation as possible with the support of private donors.
Yeah.
So, I share your disappointment that, we weren't able to participate directly in the CR, particularly given the time and effort expended. It was my very first meeting before I even was getting paid here in Dover. I went to a Hale meeting. So, I've been involved from my beginning. And I think it's important for residents to hear, and I think I can speak on behalf of the board to say we remain supportive of Hale's efforts to conserve the land. Residents certainly as individuals can engage in those private donation efforts if they wish, with Hale directly. But certainly the conservation of land is important to us, and I think we're all optimistic that it will still be achieved, even if perhaps it's going to take a different path than we anticipated.
Yeah, I just we'll close this up by directing people to the Hale website, and the Hale Education website really articulates very clearly and quite well their vision. And Eric Arnold has put a lot of time into this. I know we began this conversation in 2017. So he and I and with the other people before you, Michael, and with Chris and prior to Chris, we have been working on this. Robin and I have been putting tremendous amount of time into this for many, many years. And I know everyone's a bit disappointed, but I will say, if you do read the Hale Education website, if you go to the vision that Eric has articulated in on the pages of the website, it's really well done. They're in a good place. Hale is in a good place. I'd also encourage the town to utilize Hale and take advantage of the things that are a very healthy, well-run Hale education is going to be beneficial for the town of Dover. That's really the takeaway that I would like to leave everyone with. Take advantage of this spectacular resource and use it and help them. Help them to make it become what they want it to become. And hopefully we'll have a chance to do this again. So we're going to move on in the interest of time, but we've still got a few things to cover and it's getting late. Item 1.5 is the discussion of the town election.
Mr. Chairman, do you want us to vote on this letter?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Dave.
Dave.
Thank you. Yes, we should take a vote on the letter. And the motion is I move to approve the letter to Hale Education Board of Directors. Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Thank you, Dave.
Do you think we should read it?
We should,
or it will be on the website.
it will be on the Robin, I don't have it on my
I have it up if you want me to just try to read it quickly.
I have it up. It's not very long.
Go ahead and read it. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Dear Hale Board of Directors, The Dover Board of Selectmen would like to express our regret that we were unable to reach a mutually acceptable agreement for a conservation restriction to permanently protect Hale Education's land in the town of Dover. Throughout this process, the Dover BOS has been and continues to be supportive of Hale's mission and its efforts to permanently protect Hale's land. It is unfortunate that in the end, we were unable to reach agreement due to the legal complexities of municipal finance and property law, as well as Hale's timeline of June 30th to complete this effort. The teams from Hale, Dover, Westwood, and the trustees of reservations have worked hard on this project for hundreds of hours over the course of multiple years. While at this point the opportunity to partner is no longer available, we stress our years of support of this effort and getting to yes. Dover is still open to continuing this effort if at some point in the future you may be willing to revisit this endeavor, as well as we believe there is a path forward. We sincerely appreciate all of the time and effort from Hale, especially Eric Arnold and Dan Bailey, the trustees of reservation, and town staff and council from both Dover and Westwood. We look forward to our continued partnership and Hale's continued success. Sincerely, Dover's Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Robin. Michael, well done. Thank you, Robin. So we're going to move to item 5, and that's the discussion of the town election ballot, if there will be any. Michael, have we determined that we would need any election after town meeting?
So at this point, there's been no proposed ballot questions for the annual town election warrant. That's what this would be.
Right.
And at this time, we had one potential question, but that committee is not moving forward. So there are none for you to consider, but it's just an annual item, just so that we're all clear, the town clerk's clear, that there will not be any ballot questions.
Great. No motion necessary. Really no discussion necessary.
Right.
But there will be voting.
Yes.
There will be an election.
There will be an election. David, would you like to just maybe give you a 30 seconds of an open invitation to say come vote at the election?
Why, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we would very much appreciate the town coming out to vote to support all the candidates of Dover.
How magnanimous of you to support all the candidates. Well said.
And that's Monday, May 20th, just for the record.
Which David Haviland will be a candidate. So please.
Among others, right?
Among others, yes,
Yeah.
among others. So Board of Selectmen item updates. Have we missed, is there anything that we missed this evening? I think we've covered every single item from every committee, every department. The only thing that I want to mention, please go sign the beam tomorrow at 10 o'clock for the topping off ceremony. For those of us that can't be there, Robin, we moved it specifically for you so you could attend tomorrow. Yeah, I know you couldn't do it today, but we moved it for you tomorrow. So there are.
I have the weather to thank, and then I have myself to thank because I put down my eye appointment on the wrong day, so I can actually be at the ceremony because it was confirmed for Monday.
Right.
Monday,
Well,
Friday, whatever.
In light of Robin's eye doctor's appointment, we are still going to have the topping off ceremony, which is a ceremony where they put in the last steel beam. The steel beam can be signed. I did it this week. My kids did it. I encouraged my wife to do it, but I don't think she's done it yet. I think it's a really cool thing. It's a ceremonial part of it. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I invited Cindy, Bob Springett's wife, Cindy Dwell, to come. She's going to be there with us. I think it is absolutely a great thing. I really wanted her to be there. Bob put so much time and energy and effort, and on his behalf, I wanted all of us to be there to do it. So she's going to join us, and I think that's really cool. That's about the only thing I have to add. Anyone else?
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, I cannot make it tomorrow. I'm helping running a charity event up north, so I am unable to attend. Could have made it today, but oh well. So have a great time. What a wonderful thing, and I'm glad that you invited Cindy.
Thank you. Anything to add for the selectmen's item updates? There's nothing else on my schedule, so Mike,
I would like just a quick thank you to everybody that served on the Water Resource Committee. I would encourage everybody to read the report. It was very well done. We also are working with CDM Smith to put together a public information session. And once we have a date for that, we will publicize that on the website and through the newsletter. But I really encourage citizens to read that report. It is very lengthy, but worthwhile. And a lot of, really good work went into that.
It is in depth, I will say that.
it is.
But I'm 10% through.
It is. Meeting schedule before we go to your updates, Mike. The moderators meeting. Are we going to do that live in the Great Hall?
Yes, the moderators requested that be back to in person. So that'll be the first portion of your agenda, and then what will follow is regular business meeting for the selectmen.
April 25th.
Correct.
Okay.
And Mike, if we could just maybe send out an email to all sponsors just so that they know, because last year a couple of sponsors for some reason didn't realize that.
Absolutely, we'll make sure.
Okay.
All right. Items and dates look good. Agenda looks good. And Mike, your updates. Item 7.
Thanks. And yeah, to your point, I think we covered just about everything today. It was quite a busy agenda, but just a couple of things I wanted to mention. One is the public may have seen on social media, our fire chief, Paul Lutazzi, retired this week. So we just wanted to congratulate him and wish him well and thank him for his service over 40 years to the Dover Fire Department. I'm very appreciative of that. It was a pleasure for me to work with him over the last 7.5 months. I just want to let you know I did attend a kickoff meeting for the regional communications study, which you agreed to at your last meeting over in Westwood. Again, for the public's benefit, there's no obligation to this study. It's just to see what might be feasible. It'll take place over about the next 5 to 6 months, and we'll report back to you once that study is complete. And then lastly, Kevin McCabe, our DPW director, let us know that the Claybrook Road project was mostly completed last year, but they are coming back to finish up some work. So starting next week, the public can anticipate the dusting off of the detour signs and the one-lane traffic while they continue to install some wetland topsoil, do some plantings, raise the catch basins to finish grade, and complete the work there. And I think that'll take place through the end of April into the beginning of May. So just for the public's awareness of that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Michael, thank you for mentioning the chief's retirement. We just a jam-packed agenda this evening. I just want to second those comments. Really appreciate the years of service. So thank you very much, Chief Lutazzi. The consent.
I'd like to thank Chief Bincy for actually posting that very nice picture on social media. That was a nice send off.
Very nice.
Again, Paul really has served the town of Dover well, and I wish him the best of luck in his retirement and thank him for his service.
Thank you. We are going to move to the consent agenda items. Approval of the statement of work of the master service agreement between Clifton Larson, which is a CPA firm, and Dover Professional Services. Appointment of Jay Crocker as the measure of wood and bark for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2027. Approve 3 Squares New England Ride for food on October 6th, 2024. 1-day liquor licenses for April 11th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 2 on the 27th, the 30th, May 1st, and May 4th.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Approve open session meeting minutes provided by Mona for April 27th. And the items on the consent agenda are moved, and I ask for a second.
I'll second those.
All in favor, I, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Okay, and I just have one question.
Yes.
What does one do as a measurer of wood and bark?
Well, you
You
have to
know-
measure the
Do
bark.
you know, Dave?
Everybody knows you measure the bark. It's complicated. You have to get your calipers out. You put it into your calculator, and then you write it down in your little book. Right, Dave?
All I know is this is going to give me great fodder to tease Jay.
Me too. I'm gonna send him a congratulation notice.
That's great. Hey, Mike, can we
Ask
do
for
a big
demo.
congratulations, a plaque, and send it on over? So,
Right. And ask for a demo. Ask him when he's gonna be measuring the wood and bark so we can come watch.
And on that item, I am going to thank everyone for their attendance this evening and make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, I, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
hi, Dave Haviland.
Thank you all very, very much. It was long and many, many items, and I think we covered everything thoroughly.
And
So,
mostly, thank you for this large documents.
documents.
Love it.
Good
Thanks,
night,
everybody.
everyone.
All right,
Good night.
thanks, everyone. Good night.